welcome to Meet the Candidates. This is an opportunity for residents to get to know their candidates for elected office this season. With me tonight is Stephanie Peach, candidate for Ward 3. So, Stephanie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Deanne.
Stephanie, this is your third term for running for Ward Councilor?
Correct. This is my third time running.
Third time running. Okay, awesome. So what would just, as a way of starting off, what motivated you to want to be a ward councilor, and what experiences do you think the past couple of years have led to your success?
Yeah, so I initially ran for Ward 3 councilor. At the time, I had 2 young children. I now have 3 young children. And I saw a lot happening in the city. I saw us making progress in some areas of the city, but I felt Ward 3 was kind of being left behind. I felt that we need some more advocacy on the city level just to bring more attention to the issues that we have in our area of the city. Every ward has their own specific things, and then we try to look at things as a city as a whole. So that's really what got me into it, looking at the schools, looking at the future of the city, what kind of city is going to be left for my kids who hopefully will want to stay in Peabody as I did. So that's what got me into it, what keeps me going. We've done some great things. We've gotten a lot of studies done. And so, and that's what I've learned.
The data is important.
The data is very important. So that's what I've kind of learned over the last few years is the process of how everything is. I think everyone wants this, well, how come we can't just do this? And there's a lot that goes into it. Never mind getting the money for it, but the whole planning, we have to, and I think that was a big thing I ran on initially, and I keep it true in everything that I'm doing on the city council as well, is looking at things as a whole, as a big picture, and not just in silos, so that our development in all aspects of development and the future of the city seems put together. It's a puzzle piece that fits, and it's not just, we don't have 6 different puzzles happening around the city in each ward, or even different parts of Ward 3. So we've done a lot of studies for future projects to do. We're currently in the middle of that big Central Street project, which will be a few more years before we get to see how beautiful that's going to be. But working on redevelopment of the Walnut Street corridor is something that I've been working with community development and the mayor on. We've done some studies. We've hired Weston and Sampson to continue doing more studies on what we can do to redevelop that corridor, bring more life to it, because we have that Riverwalk project, which is also happening.
Yes.
That should be breaking ground next year. So
If
we can do all these things kind of in conjunction, I think the next 10 years for downtown, and specifically that Walnut Street corridor, are going to, you won't recognize it. It's going to be great.
That's exciting. And I think you bring up an excellent point, is that none of these decisions are made in a vacuum. They're not made off the cuff, that there is a lot of thought and expertise that leads you to a final decision. So I think that's very important for residents to know.
Yes, absolutely.
You mentioned a couple of projects. The Central Street project is ongoing. The possible redevelopment of Walnut Street, which I think is well overdue as well. Is there any other type of project that your residents are looking for? Particularly for your ward.
I think residents are looking just for overall infrastructure improvements. So everyone wants their street paved. Everyone needs their sidewalks fixed.
And why can't they all be paved, Stephanie?
Money is finite. And the cost, we've all experienced the cost of everything going up, and that doesn't, the city's not immune from that.
Right.
Cost of labor and materials has gone up, and we see that the amount of money that we're getting to do projects like repaving streets and fixing sidewalks, has it increased? Technically, yes. Has it kept up with inflation and the cost of these projects? No. So every year, I make my pitch to the mayor, and these are the streets that I think really need to be done. And in conjunction with myself and the mayor and the DPS director, that's how those decisions are ultimately made. I by no means have the final say on any of those things.
You can just advocate for
I
them.
can just advocate and continue to advocate. And so that's if we could get more money to do those things, that would be great. If I would like to see, and I've been kind of pushing for this, but it's a lot of work, and it's probably a big undertaking to ask a department head to do this, but I've been looking if we can get a more definitive plan on how we can tackle the sidewalk issues. There's so many sidewalks that need to be fixed, not just in Ward 3, but throughout the city.
Sure.
And I'd like to focus mainly on the ones around the schools where our kids are walking to school and kind of branch out from there. That's how I prioritize them. Ones in front of people like elderly homes, and then things that are main streets and around the school. So
Sure.
if we had more money, we could do so many things and people would be a lot happier.
Okay, so now you brought up money,
Yes.
which is going to lead me to ask a question about taxes, because nobody wants to see their taxes increase. We do know in Peabody that we have a split tax rates between residents and commercial property owners, and commercial property owners pay a lot higher rate than residents do. So in effect, their rates are subsidized, but taxes are a necessary evil, right? And as you mentioned, the cost of everything goes up, as well as the expenses to run the city every year go up. How do you manage that? And what do you tell residents who are frustrated by the fact that their taxes will get increased again?
I mean, my taxes also get increased,
Right.
so I own a home here, but it's a hard conversation. Even when our tax rate, so for the first 3 years on the council, the tax rate actually was lowered, even though you saw your tax bill go up. And that's because the value of our homes are increasing. We all see the real estate market. We see the value of homes through the roof, specifically in Peabody. It's been deemed one of the hottest places to buy a home in the area, not just in Massachusetts, but in the Northeast. And that it's evident by how quickly houses come off the market, how much more over asking they're going for, because Peabody has become a desirable place to live, which is a great problem to have.
Absolutely.
How do we keep it affordable? We have to come up with more revenue sources. That's where we're at. And I've actually been working with Councilor Turco, Councilor Welton, the mayor, and community development on we received a grant to look at the zoning for Centennial Park. So as another option to redevelop, to bring more revenue sources into the city, that property is just sitting there. Most of it, the buildings are vacant. We collect some property tax on that, but not much because it's not valued at much because nothing's happening there. So if we can work to bring in more revenue sources, that's going to ease the burden on residents, but it's also going to ease the burden on businesses. And I think if we can get to the point we all want to get to with downtown and being getting a thriving downtown business sector, it's going to be worth paying higher business taxes in Peabody than you might pay in a surrounding town. Taxes are a necessary evil. You said it.
Yes.
We have to pay for these things, but I do also think looking at the budget, I voted against the budget this year. I didn't think we did enough to make necessary cuts. I thought we were increasing taxes too much without being fiscally responsible. So I do think there is room in our budget to tighten our belts a little bit. Of course, I'd love to keep everything that we have and add more and more and more, but money is finite. So we need to do things in a responsible manner, and we have a new high school coming down the road, and that's going to be a lot of money. And so when we look to the future and we look at how much we had to take from our reserves in order to balance our budget this year, that's why I voted against it. I didn't think it went far enough, and I am concerned about our fiscal health moving forward as a city. And so we'll see what next budget season brings. I hope more money. But, as we move forward, trying to do things in a responsible manner so that we understand taxes are going up, and that's pretty much just the reality for all cities and towns. It's not just it's not just Peabody. But until we can get additional revenue sources into the city, and until we can tighten up our budget, find waste if and where there is waste, and then just go without sometimes. Sometimes we have to go without. So it'll be an interesting discussion next year.
One of the things you mentioned was the fact that if we had a thriving downtown, that would, add to the whole commercial base and everything. one of the components or arguments for that is that we need more housing downtown for folks that have an expendable income. How do you feel about adding more housing units to the downtown area?
I'm not opposed to it. I think we have to do it in a responsible way.
Mhm.
It's been a discussion I've been having with community development and the mayor. You know, we got hit with a 40B
Mhm.
that's downtown on Walnut Street,
Mhm.
which is in Ward 3. I don't know. It hasn't begun any building yet,
Right.
so I don't know if that's going to come to fruition. But I didn't like that project. I didn't think it was done in a responsible way. I don't think it fits the vision for downtown.
Mhm.
You know, we do have housing downtown.
Mhm.
We don't have people downtown who have expendable income,
Right.
and that I think is the problem. So I'm not opposed to if we converted some of the rooming houses into market rate apartments,
Mhm.
and that's not to say people who need rooming houses don't need a place to live. Of course they do,
Sure.
but working with those residents, working with those landlords to try to make that market rate, bring people downtown who are looking to downsize or young professionals just starting out
Mhm.
who can afford market rate housing and then can afford to go out to eat a couple nights a week downtown, who can
Sure.
afford to shop local.
Mhm.
That's what's going to bring our downtown to the next level from where it is. It's far better than it was 10 years ago, and I think over the next 10 years,
Mhm.
we're going to get to see that really thrive. We've seen it happen in a lot of surrounding North Shore communities.
Mhm.
So that is, I think, the next step for us, but we just need to do it in a responsible way.
Absolutely. And progress is never fast enough for anybody,
Yes.
right?
No.
Absolutely. One of the things, common things that we've heard, I think, in the last few months and a lot through this campaign season is that the communication from City Hall to residents, residents feeling like they have access to the information that they need. How do you see that being improved?
I think there's always room for an
Mhm.
improvement in any situation. I think we've seen improvement even over the last 4 years from before I was elected the
Mhm.
last time, because that was something that I ran on, was just being accessible and offering information and making sure that it's in a location people can find it.
Mhm.
We've seen some updates to our city website as far as the calendar. I even noticed an update recently. You can see the projected meetings on the calendar now,
Oh.
a few months out, which wasn't the case even
Mhm.
2 months ago. So those are issues that have been brought up that the counselors, whoever it may be, have forwarded that on to our IT director, and we've made those changes happen.
Mhm.
I try to communicate as much as I can. I don't always have the information myself either,
Mhm.
because um, it's not common, or it's not part of the job as a department head to pick up the phone and call the ward counselor and say, guess what happened on this Tuesday? So, you know, it's a lot of us as counselors going out and finding the information,
Sure.
making phone calls and saying, hey,
Mhm.
what's going on here?
Okay.
Um,
So you're no different than any other resident.
no, not really. Except, you know, I do have a lot of these department heads' cell phone numbers, so I can pick up the call, and they are responsive, and I understand they might be more responsive to me
Sure.
as a city councilor. But as far as, you know, day-to-day things, like you have a pothole filled, the pothole reporter on the city website, I have never seen that go unanswered. Even, you know, a fallen tree falls overnight. I
Mhm.
use the problem reporter all the time instead of emailing or calling department heads directly, and I use it myself, and
Uh-huh.
they don't know that it's me, and
Yeah.
it just
I don't think I've ever used it.
no, and it works really well.
Mhm.
And um, I've met residents who come from other communities, and they have nothing but great things to say about speaking with people who work for the city of
Mm.
Peabody. So I think that speaks volumes. Sometimes
Mhm.
we get kind of caught up in the small minority voice that's there. I think there's always room for improvement, but
Mhm.
I do hear a lot of great feedback as far as especially new residents coming into the city, and being able to find the information, whether it's online and it's easy for them to find. I'm not
Mhm.
sure, but if they pick up the phone and they make a phone call, either someone answers or they get a call back. So I think I do think overall, in general, we
Mhm.
do a really great job in
Mhm.
servicing the public.
Great. So I think we are coming up towards the end of our time. So I just have another question to ask you is what do you think makes you different from the other person that's running for Ward 3?
Experience.
Mhm.
I've been on the council now. This is finishing up my 4th year. I'm involved in a lot of the different projects that are already ongoing, the Central Street project, the Walnut Street corridor, and then I'm also on this the building committee for the new high school. So being able to be in the know on those projects and be able to forward information onto the residents of Ward 3 is important. But also just my commitment. My kids are in school. I have 2 girls that go to the Carroll School. I have a son who eventually will go to the Carroll School, and that ties me to this community in a lot of different ways. So I applaud anyone who will put their name on a ballot, but I do think my feedback over the last 4 years has been great. It's been a good change for Ward 3. I think we've done a lot of shedding light on issues within the ward, and then we've put things in place to start to address those issues.
Great, excellent. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I think this was great. I really appreciate it.
Great.
Deanne.
Well, thank you for making the time to come in,
Of
and
course.
best of luck in a
Thank
few
you.
weeks.
Thank you.